Hey everybody, we're going to get started. Thanks for your patience. So excited to do this session with you all after lunch. Welcome. We are in let me find my place in the program here. But we're going to be talking all about visuals, design. My name's Katie Harvey. I'm Oaks CSA and Marketing and Outreach Program Manager. So I spend a lot of time thinking about marketing. I know everyone in the crowd that's going to a farmer's market or marketing their own products spends a lot of time thinking about marketing. So excited to kind of take some time to dig into this topic with some great speakers today. So we are joined by Brett Wolf, Chelsea Barber, Kayla Carey. They're going to be co-presenting this session. And so I'm going to pass it over to them in just a few minutes and they'll let them introduce themselves. Just a few housekeeping notes. I wanted to let everyone know, important note, the last session of the day, there's a typo in the program. That last session is from 4 to 5 p.m. So just give you a heads up, there's a 15-minute break, and then we're starting our last session of the day sharply at 4. And then as you head out today, we've got a QR code with a survey, so we really encourage you to take our conference survey. I will also be passing out some surveys specifically for this session. We love to give the speakers for each session some very specific feedback, so as you get one of those, you just hold on to it. You can leave it on your table, and I'll collect those at the end of the session. So excited to dig into this topic. I'm going to pass it first to Brett Wolf, and we'll be talking about using the power of visual appeal to attract customers.
Thanks, Katie. So when Jenny asked me about maybe doing a presentation back several months ago, one of the things they were talking about was this idea of visual merchandising or designing a retail space, how you're going to arrange your amazing products in a way that maybe attracts customers or helps with your workflow or any number of other variables. And so we have this program with the group that I work with called the Center for Crop Diversification. And the program's called Marketing for All. It's this adaptable marketing training at the 101 to 201 level, intro and intermediate. And one of the modules that we do is called visual merchandising and hands-on visual merchandising. And so that's where all these little cute toys up here up front that I'll talk about and use here later come from. But as Jenny and I were brainstorming, we thought, what if we brought in some actually smart and talented people to do the presentation and not just have Brett do it? And so the result of that was to have the folks who are joining me here later doing part of this presentation to share from their grounded experience. I want to point out two things. One is that I am paid to be here. It's my job. I work in cooperative extension. They aren't paid to be here. They're registration. They are here because they are very talented. They wanted to share because they believe in the mission of this conference. And so I'm just really appreciative of them taking the time to do that and share that grounded, highly valuable experience with you all today. And so if we can, just open with a little round of applause for them for doing that. So the way that I do this presentation in not this format, but the Marketing for All format is more to work through some of the principles, and then we show them as we pull out these fake fruits and vegetables and this little mock stand we have up here. We're going to do a shortened version of that in the middle. But what we really want this presentation to be is a creative example and idea sharing format driven in large part by the contributions of Chelsea and Kayla. And so how many of you all, by show of hands, have heard of High Five Farm before? Woo! If you haven't heard of them, you got social media, Instagram. Feel free to tune me out and go follow them on Instagram. How many of you have heard of the Kentucky Flower Market? Yeah, see, so I'm working with some famous people here. I can kind of tell. So the group I work with is called the Center for Crop Diversification. I will just mention real quick, we are an extension-based research and, a university-based extension and research center focused on specialty crops. So we offer farmers market price reports throughout the year, produce auction price reports throughout the year, some analysis on those prices, as well as hundreds of publications to help you decide whether or not you might want to grow a crop, whether you might want to think about pursuing a market channel, etc. We have a brand new website. I'm happy to talk to you about that. This isn't a promo for that, but that's just who I am and what I've been doing for the last 10 years or so. I also work with the SARE program. You can visit me out at the booth. So I think rather than droning on anymore, I'm going to ask Chelsea to come up And she's got some slides here that she's going to work through. But Chelsea, I'd also just invite you, for the 2 people who don't know who you are already, to make sure you let them know who you are, where you're located, and all that fun stuff. Oh, by the way, if you want a copy of the slides, the QR code will download those to your phone as a PDF or some other format. Yeah, so I'll hand it over to you, just the center one advances, and I'll sit right here.
Okay, advancing. Hi, everybody. My name's Chelsea Barber. That's my husband, that delicious treat over there, Alex Rickman. And we are High Five Farm. We've been in business for about we just finished our 5th year. And just to give you a little context about all of these stands, we are a small-scale farming operation. We grow vegetables nearly year-round, or that's what we're trying to do. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know if I said, 2 acres, so that is small. It's been mostly just us 2 for most of these 5 years. This was our first season where we were able to have someone part-time helping us. So most of these stands are a 2-person harvest, small-scale vegetables. That's our stand, one of our great stands that you'll see many slides of. We are at primarily 2 farmers markets. We do sales kind of all sorts of different places, but farmers markets, at least last year, made up about 45% of our sales. So that is no small chunk of change. It's definitely where I like to focus, putting our most excellent stuff here. We're at Franklin County Farmers Market every other Saturday throughout the winter, except not today. And then every Saturday in the main season, which is April through December. This market also has a really robust, This market also has a really robust Thursday online sales program. So we're also harvesting every Thursday for that, but I'm not setting up a full stand. It's a curbside delivery program. So yeah, that's a little different. And then we're at Lexington Farmers Market on Southland Drive. We're there on Sundays, and this is, I would say, a smaller market for us, but it's still significant. So that's the perspective here. Okay, I'm skipping that for a second. So just about me and our farm, when we kind of first got the farmers market bug, I would say it was in large part working at a different farm in Virginia as a vendor at the market, really working alongside of some amazing vendors. Whisper Hill Farm was one of my biggest inspirations, where something clicked in my head, whereas farming was not just about growing vegetables, but there was this art to it, and also this mastery of planning. These stands didn't kind of just happen that way. All of that color was planned, and their varieties, and stacking things so excellently. I was always really attracted to that, and really saw it as not just farming, and saw it more as an art, which is what made us excited to invest in farmers markets in the first place. So I have that in my head when I'm making my stand. Another thing I have in my head when I'm making my stand is thinking about Kroger and Walmart. This is Walmart January 1st, I think, honestly. That looks good. And so I'm kind of thinking about where customers and people are already shopping for vegetables. I'm not trying to invent the wheel here or reinvent the wheel. Trying to kind of mimic some of this right here. Okay, so Brett challenged me to think about my farmers market stands, what am I really trying to do there? Yes, I'm trying to sell my vegetables, but is there a bigger picture? And it kind of, for me, came down to these 4 main goals, and my stand is somewhat of a manifestation of these goals. So each week, what I'm trying to do is showcase the excellent quality of my product, highlight the freshness of it, and showcase the beauty, really. I'm trying to also protect the integrity of these products so that they are as fresh as possible when the customer gets them, so that they can last the longest in their fridge. And also, so if they don't sell on this day, I can sell it the next day at the Sunday market. And I'm trying to generate money. Like, I need money for all this to happen. So I'm trying to make money. That is my number one goal, I would say, in being at these markets and what I'm trying to do with my stand. Legitimizing the market as a viable grocery option. This is kind of like a bigger concept, but has a lot of meaning for me. The Franklin County market has a really long, strong history. I'm a first-generation farmer, and like part of what I'm trying to do is honor the craft of farming, I suppose, and like I'm trying to bring my most excellent stand so that our farmers market has a good reputation and that folks know to come to Franklin County Market because that's where they can get the best stuff. And part of what we're trying to do here too with legitimizing the market as a viable grocery option is I want any person in Kentucky who buys vegetables to think of farmers markets as the first place that they want to go to get the best product. So I'm trying to not only show that they can have really excellent stuff, but that they can also consistently get what they want just as they can when they go to the grocery store. So trying to have carrots every week, trying to have lettuce every week, stuff like that. So that's what I got to say about that. Isn't that pretty? This is a really nice spring stand. What you can see, what we're trying to do is welcome people in. I want people to like walk up to my stand and be like, ooh, I kind of like want to go look over there. I've noticed after doing farmers markets for about 5 years that like customers can be kind of shy and like don't really want to like be an inconvenience even though I'm there to serve them. So anything I can do to like welcome someone in and make them feel more comfortable coming up to my stand is something I want to do. So I'm trying to like get the wow factor, like, wow, look at all that beautiful stuff. So I've caught their attention and kind of bring them in using this like U shape or a C shape with my tables. So they kind of feel too like they can be welcome to pick up stuff, stuff like that. I can't really see the slide, so, oh yeah, here. I'm trying to make it obvious what they can just grab and what I kind of need them to like wait for me to help serve them. So like these pints in the front, like they're there for people to grab them and kind of walk around, and they can kind of select different stuff out of here. You can't really tell in this photo, but I have bags out and people can take a bag, walk around my stand and grab what they need to grab. This is another nice spring stand. We do lots of vegetable starts herb starts in the spring, lots of lettuces. I use these are they called IFCO traits? These small little IFCO traits to put all of my bagged greens out in the fronts. And I'm bagging greens at the market. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because it takes a lot of time and I'm doing it really, really fast before things start. But the one great thing about it is it makes the bags like stay puffed up and not like gross and condensation-y. So that's a little trick that I like. I put my, anything I'm trying to highlight like needs to be visible. So those lettuce heads too over on the side, on the right, I like pop them out, the bottoms, to show people that they were just cut yesterday. They're clean. They don't have that like red, gross bottom. So I want people to see that. And even if they don't like notice it, like maybe they will after they go to Kroger and see the differences. So anything I can do to like highlight, I'm trying to do. Stacking roots. I like to stack roots up on my tops of my bins, just because for the visual appeal, really. Something that's not great about this stand that I'm noticing is like there's nowhere for a customer to put their bag. or money, people really just like kind of put their stuff down on your crop. And it like makes me want to like freak out. So I try like usually, this is like right when my farmer's market's opened. I haven't even put out my signs yet. I'm really just taking this photo so I can remember it later. But leaving a little space is helpful, and it helps protect the integrity of the crop. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about that. Another great fall stand here. Something that I kind of try and do is like anything that I want a kid to recognize, like kids recognize carrots, they love carrots, so I always put those out in the front, or it's like something that's very visually appealing. I'm putting that out in the front and trying to take as much table space as possible to kind of like prove to a customer like, I plan to sell 100 bunches of carrots, like that's a reason why you should buy them from me, because 100 people are gonna do it, so why not you? So put out all my big stuff that I'm really trying to sell like out in the front, and everything else that maybe needs like also an explanation. If I have to like kind of pitch a product like ginger or something, I might put that closer to where I'm standing or where my bags are so that I can like be right there at the moment where I need to sell it or explain it or bag the lettuce for them. Lots of people like you to bag their lettuce for you. I don't know. What else am I trying to say here? Something else I want to say here is that when I'm stacking all my stuff, I am really trying to keep it as neat as possible. And that means what I'm doing throughout the market is basically constantly rearranging. Like I'm never just standing still at my farmer's market stand. I'm always rearranging things. This I wanted to show you guys because I had a full table full of pints, and then as they were slowly starting to sell, it made the table space look open and weird, so I just set them up like that, and it looked really great. And even though I had fewer pints, it still looked like I had a lot. Another stand. What I see when I look at this is, I wish I cut those butts off the Napa cabbage. What we like to do too is we like to cut the stems off on the kale bunches. Just it looks nice, but I didn't do that here. But it still looks good. I like to use these like light color tablecloths because when things get really wet, and I think like when you use a different color tablecloth, it can like a big wet spot just like looks weird. So yeah. I'm spraying this stuff off a lot. I'm spraying all my stuff probably every 30 minutes. I got an ice pack from Kroger on the way to the market and put it in my spray bottle, and I'm spraying things off to keep them as crisp as possible. Also, when you spray stuff off, it looks shinier and it pops. I mean, it pops hard. So I even if it's not a hot day, I will spray it off just to make it look good. Do you know how to make the videos work? Oop. The videos. Okay, well, these are epic videos that you can find on my Instagram of my farmer's market stands. These look great. Check me out on Instagram, there's a little plug. All right, okay, this is, what I wanted to say too was like, what I'm seeing also on all these stands that is kind of cringe is my logo is not even out. So, always trying to like look at your stand. Like I take a photo of every stand so I can look back and like just think about how I can make it better. It's a movable thing. That's kind of the fun for me of it. It's like a practice. So I'm always trying to make my stand better. But yeah, I should have a big banner like Sarah does over on her side. Look, you can see her stand among the oaks. But I try and give them the information that they need. I want them to know who we are. I want them to know how to like find us later and how they can pay. I mean, that's the most important thing, is give me my money. You can have great stands some weeks. All of these stands really are representative of your crop. Like if your crop looks bad, your stand might look bad. However, if you don't have that much stuff or if your stuff isn't looking that great, you still can take it seriously and try to make it look as best as you can. I think that this is a stand that I had only tomatoes and garlic, and I still went to the market and just tried to make it look nice, to kind of show the customer they can count on me to be there no matter what, even if I don't have that much good stuff. Yeah, that week we only had cabbages, and it was kind of rough, but we still went to the market. I don't know, just other pretty stuff here. Keeping it clean is important, and that happens in the harvest and wash pack station, but there are things you can do at the market to also keep your products clean. Walking in front, checking for debris on the ground, keeping big bunches of lettuce like in a plastic bag. I do that at the market if I have time. It makes it easier for people to grab my stuff and it doesn't make a mess. Okay, so another part of your stand is you. We don't have that many opportunities to interact with our customers in real life, and the farmer's market is just this huge opportunity to show people like your personality, I guess, and why they should buy from you. And it feels important for me to like take that moment seriously. And so, you know, I am like trying to be as professional as I can at the market. I am standing up straight, you know, stand strong and like project strength, give people a reason to come up and talk to me. I would never be caught dead scrolling on my phone at the farmer's market. I mean, I would like never want to interrupt someone on their phone. It's like a clear, like, it tells me that they don't want to talk to me. So never be caught on your phone. If I'm doing the cash register even on my phone, like I'm turned around so that they can see that I'm focused on what we're doing. So that's a pretty big rule for us. Keeping your outfit, you know, not only looking clean, but professional, and you don't want to look like a slob. I mean, you will feel better selling if you look good. You will feel more professional. I'm wearing a farmer's market t-shirt normally. You know, you also want to think about food safety. Like, you can't be gross and people aren't going to want to buy food from you. Be someone that people want to buy food from. I do Friday night manicure every single Friday, like at 7 p.m. no matter what, because you want your nails to be clean, and I think that is something I didn't take so seriously maybe in the earlier days. Fake it till you make it. This is actually, Ellen Balshug was like, fake it till you make it's not real. I was like, oh shit, I put that in my presentation. But I guess what I'm trying to say with that is really like, it's about your attitude. Like, have a good attitude. You don't have to like be fake, and you don't have to be fake, but be friendly. I mean, I am not necessarily like having a long conversation with everybody, but you know, that moment where someone might walk up to your stand, you want to be ready with like be ready to catch eye contact, you know, have a smile. And I think that goes a long way. I do feel sometimes like part of what I'm doing and part of the service I'm offering is like giving my customers like a genuine community moment and like having a genuine connection with them. So in order to do that, you have to have a good attitude. Don't be a stinker. And I think that's what I was trying to say with this slide too, is like, you know, have a little fun with it. They say you're trying to like, you're trying to sell your story or whatever. And me and Alex's strategy with that is kind of to, I guess like, yeah, like just have a little fun on the holidays that we like. We dress up for Halloween. You know, I'm keeping tabs on local events. Like, I know what the Cats games scores are, even though I don't like watch sports at all. Like, I know what's going on around me, and participating in society is good for my stand. I wouldn't recommend setting up your pumpkins like this. I did not sell any of those pumpkins because people didn't want to mess that up, but it was still cute. Okay, and that's all I have to say.
If you would stay right here, or you don't have to stay right here, but
Okay.
over there is fine.
Okay.
just in case there's any kind of questions that come up. So I was thrilled to hear some of the things that Chelsea said are some of the things that we talk about when we go out and do producer education and extension education, which is great because it makes me feel like we're talking about the right things, because you can see very clearly she knows what she's talking about. Bad because it maybe makes me obsolescent. I'm an obsolete product. We could just have her go out and do this instead, because she's really, really good at it. I was taking some notes, and I'm thinking about these principles that we talk about in the other classes that she presented here, and a couple of them that I sketched down. I was scrolling on my phone, but hopefully you couldn't see me. The idea that product quality is central and is sort of a prerequisite before any of this other stuff. This is the picture frame around the picture. To that same effect, the most important colors, the most important visual element of the stand is the product itself. If you're trying to sell the high, especially in her case where she's emphasizing quality, and I think her results speak for itself. A couple of the things, the idea of height and abundance is something that we talk about. I describe it as the knee to eye principle. So if you go to a grocery store, and I have a picture of let's see, I'm gonna skip ahead here just to be able to. Ooh, there it is. So if you go to a grocery store produce section, in this case, you could look at the examples, and Chelsea and several of the other folks we talked to mentioned this idea of stack it high and watch it fly, as the people say in the biz. A couple of things I'm noticing in this image here that I noticed in hers as well. There's a certain sense of movement out toward the customer. There's a sort of a spilling forward. If you look at the bins, the kind of the bins that are on the floor that are kind of. They subconsciously give you the feeling of a giant barrel full of apples. In reality, if you go up and look at that display stand, it's only a couple inches deep. There's just one or two rows of apples, but there is a subconscious sense of abundance. And I think Chelsea explained it really well. Of like, we like to be around other people and do things that we're perceiving as safe or as good or whatever. So she's going to sell 100 bunches of carrots to a lot of people today because they know that they're really good. I want to be part of that. That's part of what the sense of abundance is sort of giving. The other thing, she was taking advantage of elements of that knee to eye total space. You could see here, there's no real reason to have, it's really kind of an inefficient way actually to put and store apples out, but customers don't like to bend too far down to pick it up off the ground, and they don't want to stretch too high to take it off the top shelf like in a grocery store. But we do look at that whole visual space all at once and take it in. So the more that you can, as Chelsea was doing, take advantage of that space. That's one thing that I noticed that you did really well, and that has to do with just stacking. For example, I'll step over here, but what I'm going to do is I have one of my crates under the table. I'm just going to pull it out to create a little shelf down low. That may or may not be a good idea depending on your market, but the microphone situation's throwing me off. But the shelf on top of the stand is just another example of that. Now we went from just kind of this flat plane of content, of product, to this much more three-dimensional heightened space. Another thing that I'm really glad she mentioned was the taking pictures and reflecting. Everyone can improve. If you go to some of the top-level retailers, they have people constantly going around their stores looking and seeing, this should be tweaked, this should be changed, this should be, the logo should be more prominently displayed, this should be more orderly. I think it's a living space that people are ideally taking lots of product off of. And so the idea of restocking, the idea of keeping things fresh, but also reflecting from time to time about what you're doing. A little bit about the flow, I think, was another thing that I picked up. Thinking about where are you going to be and how are you going to take money and how are people going to sit stuff down and welcoming people in with the design. Those are a couple of the things that jumped out to me. There's a bunch more. I'm curious, does anybody have a couple people, things that they learned from what Chelsea just shared? Or that they sparked ideas that they're going to take home with them? Yeah. Yeah, in case anybody didn't hear, to keep the bags puffy, you kind of have to do it at market right before you put it out for the customer. Yeah. Okay, will it go into the recording? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cutting, I mean, it just looked, I think the cleanliness and the idea of like conveying freshness, quality, and cleanliness as someone is making a decision about purchasing food is really, it's a no-brainer, but it speaks in the way that stuff was organized. So I will say again, this is the QR code to download this presentation. There's a middle section that are of some producer voices that we collected that are sort of sharing a couple of pictures and a couple of things that they would like to communicate about how they do their stands. So our colleague Emily asked folks how they wanted to handle, how they think about handling these same questions that Chelsea talked about. And so we have those little vignettes that are in the middle of this presentation if you want to take a look at those. There's also a longer form one from Leslie at Solway, who was going to join us but had some things come up and wasn't able to. So I'll just put this back up briefly if you want to download the slides, this is, and if you want to get them afterward, you can email me or let me know that you'd like them. Okay, so I'll come back really quickly. Sorry if this is like a strobe light Kanye concert or something, but yeah.
The question was, how do you get folks to not squeeze your tomatoes? The market has really taught me about just being brave and saying, please don't do that. And it's not rude. Like, oh, please don't do that. Like, you can say that with a smile. And I do also have a sign if it seems like it's becoming a problem. The regular customers know to help me out as well in those moments. They kind of know the ropes. So I also lean on them to help me in those times. Yeah. Yeah, for me, it kind of, it depends. I'm kind of reading the room, actually. I let them get their tomatoes. I can also tell when someone wants me to do it for them, like if they're expecting like service, I guess. I have little baskets out. I don't have any photos of them. They're small. And I'll hand someone a basket they can put it in, and then it's tiered on my scale. So then I just put it on. Yeah. Yeah, it's odd. Yeah. Yeah, and that, right, and
They're all exactly the same.
right. Well,
So that helps.
And in that moment, it's like clear to me, like this person like is seeking my expertise or whatever. That's a good customer because they are excited that I'm the farmer who might know more information than Kroger.
So I'm going to pause the questions. We did leave plenty of time for questions at the end for both of these folks. I was able to be untethered, so I'll show you a couple other things that we just do demo-wise with this setup. One of the things I said was about how the color of your product, the most important color on your table should be the product itself. That's why something like this isn't a great idea. You have these kind of fun ideas about maybe the way that you're merchandising, or maybe even your harvest bins are too bright, or they're, thinking about that as one example. Color is a multifaceted thing. You can use all of one color, all green. I have just all the green stuff matched together, or you might think about putting the green cucumbers next to the apples as kind of a contrasting thing. You can consider maybe mixing contrasting colors in a bin here. Maybe this is like the display, and then you actually have the stuff that people are going to choose out of, spread out throughout the table. Colors, another way you can play with color is if you have like a neutral tablecloth or something like that, you might use some pops of color. These are just inexpensive placemats and other things like that just kind of highlight some blueberries, for instance, look nice on a red backdrop. Color, another way of thinking about color is the tablecloth, and if you're using a tint, the type of tint that the color and relative opacity of the top of the tint. A white one that lets light in is almost like a soft light if you're used to photography. It can look really nice. Maybe that's not enough protection for your products once it gets hot. A tablecloth that's white like this is going to be white for about 30 seconds at a farmer's market probably, right? So you might think about something that's a little bit darker, or a neutral color like what Chelsea used. You could just see the visual difference there that little bit of color makes. Overall, I think putting a little bit of time and energy into exactly the challenge that I gave to Chelsea, which was like, what are you trying to convey about your brand, about your product, etc. And if you can, take small steps to convey that in the way you're presenting it. And you're going to see that from Kayla as well, that there's a real vibe that they cultivate. And it's cool, and it's through intentional small steps that they're taking. A couple other things. I think if I was thinking about getting into farmers markets next week or next year, and I saw Chelsea's presentation and examples, I would be a little intimidated because she has a literal mountain of produce. It looks all amazing. There's ways to do this, and she highlighted this a little bit. There's ways to do things that are a little bit on a smaller scale. The main thing is abundance is not just about a large volume of stuff. It's about a large volume of stuff relative to the container or the space that it's in. So like a tiny house with a ton of furniture feels cramped. That same amount of furniture in a giant house, it's not going to feel cramped at all. We're going for lots of volume. So this is a 6-foot table. If it were an 8-foot table, I would have to have a whole lot more produce to fill it. If I had some apples, and let's say this is the total amount of apples that I have to bring to the market, and you can't even see them, right? So other than tipping it forward, maybe I think about using a smaller container like this, keeping these back here to refresh as people buy stuff, and now I have a bountiful little display here. This is just another way of doing it that's kind of similar to these would be to use the big container, but cheat a little bit by putting some filler into the bottom of it, maybe one of these pulp containers or something like that, to make the shallow false bottom container that gives that sense of abundance and size, particularly if you have something big like one of those bourbon barrel things. Just trying to think. There's some creative ideas. If you have a multi-product stand, maybe you sell meat and some potatoes and some carrots. I just picked up this little roasting pan. Maybe you have all the elements right in there. You can say, ask me about putting together a roast pack for you out of the things that I have available. Or maybe you have an item that specifically, a bundle that you specifically sell that somebody can take it home and make their roast with vegetables that night. A couple more, and I'm just rapid firing, giving you ideas because I want to make sure Kayla has plenty of time. Signage. I would echo as an introvert, married to an introvert. I don't want to talk to you. I want to give you my money. I want to take my products home. I don't particularly want to talk to you. Some people do, and that's great. The best way to help me is to have some good signage that lets me know how much stuff costs, whether you accept the credit card, whether you accept EBT, etc. But even within that, you can make some decisions about how you want to convey your brand. So I have just a couple of different examples. This is the Kentucky Proud at-cost price tag. To me, it's giving rural market, kind of rustic, true to the Kentucky brand, right? Compare that to something like this, if this were a price tag, it's just giving maybe a little more high class, maybe chalkboard, maybe French countryside, I don't know. You're gonna combine elements to tell a story, and that's part of what you're doing here. Let's see. One of my questions that I ask people, let's take a vote. These are your two choices, A or B. A? Anybody? You're all dead to me. No. So the thing that I would say about this is, B, we're all here at the Organic Farming Association, right? By the largest gathering of per capita compost bin owners in central Kentucky. We know about plastic, right? Sometimes your customer is coming from a grocery store where this is what they're familiar with. And I can say, I've had, to just have fun during the early spring, I'll go and buy farmer's market strawberries in this container, and do a little trial in my refrigerator. These lasted way longer. So there's trade-offs there. There's decisions about what kind of customers you have and what you want to do and all of that. And it could very well be there are other variables related to that. But that's just another example. If you're getting started and you're not trying to drop thousands of dollars on marketing, this is just a generic kind of shopping bag that I got inexpensively and got a roll of stickers and put a sticker on it. Boom, you've got branded items to take home for people to take home instead of just a plain bag, a plain paper or plastic bag. You could do the same thing with these various individual containers. And I describe that as buying the cheapest billboard with the highest value real estate inside your customer's refrigerator or on their countertop that you can get. You have a high quality product, they're enjoying it, and every time they open the container, they're reminded it came from your farm. Just some ways that you can think about combining principles and telling your story. I'm going to leave it there. There'll be time for questions and other things afterward, but I'm going to I'm going to ask Kayla to come on up and say, what Kayla's doing is really managing a retail environment and creating a vibe and a physical space, which has all kinds of principles that apply to other formats and vice versa. A lot of what Chelsea does, if I had a brick and mortar store, I'd do the same thing too. So I'll just invite Kayla up and she'll share her examples and we'll go from there. Mandatory light break. Oh, going on a darkness retreat together.
No. Is it too? It's not as light as it was before.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
Should I do something with that? They want to give feedback.
Help me. How do I make it go to my slide? Oh.
Tricky.
Oh, cute. Okay. Hello, I'm Kayla Carey. I am the owner of the Kentucky Flower Market. It is a collaborative cut flower growers market. Can you hear me? We started our collective in 2022, and we bopped around a few different places, and now we've landed at this really cool market space in downtown Frankfort on St. Clair. Just a little bit about our collective. It's a group of flower farmers who are selling wholesale together. So the service that I offer growers, and I'm also a cut flower grower, is the ability to aggregate inventory in one place and to provide a really great experience for wholesale cut flower buyers to get product from tons of different farms. We also now invite retail customers into our space, so I'm doing a lot of farmers market like setup in there. And then the one thing that I would just like to point out from the get is that you don't have to get super fancy to make a big impact with some of your stands. Like just last night, we had an event in the space, and I didn't have a little table to greet people at and to set my laptop on, and I found a box that had a bag of vermiculite in it, and I threw a drop cloth over it, and nobody had any clue. And so just take that back, and you can really
do a lot with a couple cardboard boxes or some bricks and some fabric. So don't think you have to go buy a bunch of stuff or big displays off Amazon. Like you can make stuff with what you have at home. Here is our market. I put myself in there for scale because I wanted to show that example of your need to eye-level product display. So with flowers, you might think that it's pretty easy to market those. They're very visually appealing. There's a lot of colors. And do I have any cut flower producers in the house? Okay. Okay. Do I have any people who have like farm stands at their home or are trying to do like farm shops at their home? Okay. Just to echo what Chelsea said, I'm constantly refreshing and moving things around. I'm making it very obvious and easy for people to see the product. So I'd choose certain buckets so that the flower sticks well out of the bucket. It's the same principles here. You want your customers to see what you have. Here's another example. We made I call it the flower stage, but it was literally like 2 old rotting nursery tables and some drop cloth, and then another, you can't really see it, but another little stand on top of that. So it's like not high tech at all, but it gets the job done. Okay, so I'm gonna just have a couple points here that are echoing what Chels and Brett said, but you need to have some signs. And you should really, if you don't have a logo, you should get a logo. And it does not have to be fancy. You can start out with making something on Word, but just have your name somewhere that you can easily transfer it onto all of your stuff. Because what you're really doing is creating a brand for yourself. And you're trying to have a little personality in that brand, because what are people gonna remember when they leave your market stand? They might only remember your logo, not your face or your name. But the next time they walk into that farmer's market and see that logo, they're like, I remember them. So I just really think it's important to have logo and signage everywhere. So you can see we have our logo. We make very simple signs out of the brown paper that we use to wrap the flowers with at the market, and Sharpie. Also have some like chalkboard-esque signs as well. And I try to put as much information on there as possible, because just like Brett said, people just want to kind of walk around and see what you have, and they probably won't buy it if they have to ask you the question. And so lots of signs. Signs. Don't forget your signs. I've gone through a few markets where I didn't have time to make some signs, and it's a huge difference in the money that you make, like plain and simple. And the sign, let me go back. The signs that we use, the vibe that we're kind of trying to create at the market is that this is a bunch of growers. It's not fancy. It's kind of like DIY. It's farmers market-esque, and so we just want it to like be attainable looking. Okay, so your logo, again, can't stress enough how much your logo is super important. And you can do it a million different ways. So at our market, all of our growers are required to put their logo on their bunches. One, because I need to know whose stuff is what, but also I love to be able to come in and be talking to a customer and be like, yeah, Hazelfield Farm, they're up in, I forgot where they were. They're up in X county, and they'll be like, oh yeah, because you know Kentucky, how many counties do we have? Everybody, you tell them what county you're from, and they know a couple people. It's just how it is. So this is just another way to make conversation and get your point across about our mission here at the market. I'm trying to support multiple local flower farmers, and look at all the different ones represented here. And I just put a few different examples, and you can choose whatever you want, but stamps work great. If you're balling on a budget, do a stamp. And if you're worried about waste, stamps are great. You can compost that right away. There's no like right answer. You can see the top middle-ish right, Latrell Jolie, she puts her sticker on there and staples it so that somebody could take that sticker off and slap it on something. So it's not just marking it, it's also letting the consumer take your mark home with them. So, and a lot of flower producers especially will say that they will not let a bunch leave their farm without their logo on it, and I've always remembered that because it's a great rule of thumb. Here in our market, we like to get people to walk through the whole store, and that's kind of like the same with your market stand. So really consider your customer experience. Walk your stand and or do example stands at home, walk it and see what, as a consumer yourself, what you would like. It's pretty easy when you just look at it from what you would like as a consumer in the real world. Here I have people coming in the front door, and I naturally have things in the middle, so they go make a big circle around the store. So they hopefully see everything that we have. I also usually position myself at the back of the store near the cooler, so that, again, they kind of have to walk the whole length to get to me, so they see everything. Lighting, not that you can really impact your lighting at the farmer's market, but I would say like a white tent would probably be a great go-to, just to have the most like airy looking tent area so that your products look the best, because they always look the best in natural light. I have some other stuff here. Here's some just examples of how I just use a ton of baskets and little weird things that I pick up to like just make something look a little bit more elevated. This is a vase that I use for flowers, but I needed something, so I just popped it out and threw the incense in it. And you can do that for anything. You can just really get creative with it, and I would say try to put your personality out that way. I love baskets, so I have baskets everywhere. You can literally judge anything. And I know it's probably, you don't want to have a ton of stuff that you're bringing to market, but you could have one or two like really cool things that kind of set you apart. One example is when I did farmers market as Rookery Flower Co. in Frankfurt, I would just bring crazy big things. It wasn't even anything I was selling. I just would cut down an asparagus tree, and I would have it on the edges of my table, and it was just a focal fun thing, and it was different and interesting. So it doesn't even have to be necessarily something that you're trying to get people to buy. It could just be something cool, and it could be a conversation starter. I'm not an introvert, so I really don't have a problem like, hey, how's it going? But if that's something that struggles for you, put something weird on your table. Right now, if you go by the Kentucky Flower Market's front window, you'll find a taxidermied squirrel decorating a Christmas tree. And how many people have come in just to be like, hey, I like your squirrel. And they don't even care about the flowers, but they came into my shop, and now they are aware of my shop. So I think you could take that back and apply that at your farmer's market stand. Or if you have like an especially giant loofah or a weird knobby pumpkin, just bring your weird things. People want to see that. One of the big things that we do is that, I want people to take my brand home with them, and I want them to remember it. So we created a seasonal, specific to Kentucky, local flower calendar so that I could educate my customers on what's in season. And so you could be educating your customers as well, and also helping them know what vegetables are in season, so they can know what to expect from you. People love to be in the know. So yeah, I put this in bags. I hand it to people as a conversation starter to talk to them. You can use it in a lot of different ways. Up here on top of this antique thing, you can see I have a giant nut. I got that thrifting one time. Use that at the market to hold some added value things, and people will come over again just to talk about the nut. So I really just be weird. I really think everybody should just be weird. I put these up here just because I think when we're trying to create the vibe, I know you all can't bring couches and big mural-y type things, but you can do small things to convey like what you're about. And whether that be like a picture of your favorite sheep that you put on your stand, or maybe it's you and a photo of you and your family farming because that's part of like your mission, vision, and values of your farm. I would take a minute to think about things that are important to you that you want people to know, because people want to feel good when they're buying things. So if they know that it's a family farming business, that might resonate with them. There's just another example of our signage. I will say a good hack is getting a cheap laminator, laminating some brown paper or white paper, and then using a dry erase marker so you're not creating new signs all the time. I use this consistently at our market. And then again, you can see I've got baskets. We created this little market stand out of crates from Michael's. So again, you can just kind of make whatever you need for your own market stand. A big part of the Kentucky Flower Market is an online presence, so photos are super important, and unfortunately the internet is super important in what we're doing. So I would just tell you to really try to take good pictures of your product. Use a neutral background, put it in natural lighting. Don't take a photo that's blazing in the sun, because it's not going to show what the true item looks like, or in the shade. Really try to work on taking some good photos to really showcase your product. It's amazing. And then you can use these things on social media, or if you're doing plant starts, you could have photos of what this plant is going to look like, because people really need things spelled out for them. I would never just assume that somebody knows the difference between a zucchini and a cucumber, because I've seen that where they don't. So for us, I love putting the names of the flowers on the signs that I have, because people love to know. They love to get information that way. That's all I have.
So we'll open it up to questions here in just a second, but one of the things I just want to reinforce from both presentations, well, first I'll just say, wow, what a privilege to be able to work with these two women on this, and see them share this stuff is just amazing. And I think to me, one of the things that both of them talked about was this idea of like what you're trying to convey, that this isn't just randomly doing some creative thing here or some creative thing there. I mean, that can work, that can be fun, but there's a strategy to it. And so if I were in a meeting with them thinking about what their brand proposition, their value proposition and brand is, to me what I got from Chelsea, just from looking at her photos, just from visiting her stand, would be that she is a professional, high-level vegetable grower, growing a product that I would want to take home if I really care about quality, freshness, etc. She's extremely professional, neat, tidy, clean, all those things. And I think that is conveyed in what she's doing. Kayla is the more wild, just to be clear, taxidermied squirrels are not a standard visual merchandising recommendation, but it's embracing who she is as a person, this crazy, talented, not afraid to be herself person who's selling these really beautiful things that need to be conveyed in beautiful ways to a clientele that's ultimately probably going to be paying a little bit more for a higher quality local item. And so in both cases, there's a lot of strategy that goes into these very small decisions. And in both cases, it confirms my experience that I have a lot, which is that a lot of our producers don't quite realize how brilliant they actually are in everything that they're doing. And this isn't just lip service. This is something that in our conversations is, who are we to talk about this stuff and share? And I'm like, you are the right people, and I feel that way now. So thank you again to you all for sharing your time and talent with us. And I'll open it up to questions for you all. And thank you all for coming. Please fill out your survey.
I'm going to come around with the mic, so raise your hand if you have a question. Perfect.
Thank you, Kayla, for your idea about bringing a picture, say, of a sheep. I think that's really brilliant. But I'm also interested in, any ideas on like marketing, meat. I know most times meat, you can't really display it because it has to be in a cooler or a freezer to protect its integrity. And most times when you take it to a processor, the branding is whatever they have available. So open to ideas from others on ways to market meat.
What I have seen work very well at farmers markets with meat stands is that's a situation where your signage is everything, and also maybe photos and a banner are like gonna be very important. It works well when you have one big sign, like one large, attractive sign in the front, and people like reading it like a menu. That really seems to work well at our farmers market. And then yes, I think with meat, I don't sell meat, but photos of your farm and the animals being happy.
Yeah.
Also informational photos about cuts is what Emily Buckler does at our farmers market. She has all of the cuts and how to prepare them on these huge posters. That works well.
I would also say on that, oh wait, I lost it. I wouldn't not like make a nice meal with your steak and take a photo of that nice meal. Like that's gonna be appetizing to people. Yeah.
Do you want to say?
Yes.
So I promise to get out of the way, but I end up answering this question in extension offices like every month, it seems. So I think one of the things is you have to embrace the fact that you are up against a different visual appeal challenge. And so you're going to have to probably work harder in other formats, whether that be an email newsletter, whether that be your social media, whether that be your website being on point. Like you just don't have, like there's a lot of people who sell vegetables who wish they were selling flowers because they're so beautiful and it's so appealing just in an implicit way. So I think that's one thing. I think also the idea about like the bundling earlier, starting to put it into a context of like what's for supper tonight or what's for supper later this week is another thing, giving people ideas. But it is just an ongoing challenge to not have something. And the other thing I would mention is sampling. Sampling sells, period. The reason big corporations like Costco and Sam's Club do it is because it sells you 2,700 spanakopita in your freezer for some reason later on because you were hungry when you went there. So if you can try to sample products that you have that feature your meat or feature other things too, it really does make a huge impact. So.
I was just going to say at my farmer's market, some of the meat producers, they have like a ceramic pig or a tin, cow or whatever they happen to be selling. And then a lot of them buy flowers from me and put a little display of flowers on their table.
Good tip. Anyone else have a question or a tip? We're taking crowdsourcing tips.
What they do at our market is our meat producers actually like bring their grill and will sell lunch or breakfast depending on what time of day it is. I know that'd be an extra expense on you, but I mean, it tastes good. And then those of us that sell the produce are able to be like, hey, their burger's good. Why don't you get our lettuce or tomato to go on their burger and get them a whole meal?
One thing I've noticed at our markets that might be a little bit different is instead of doing the U shape, because people are nervous about walking into it, or it might get too crowded and they don't want to go in there with someone else. So we either do it straight along a sidewalk where they're on the sidewalk, you meet that sidewalk. So they're looking at your stuff while they walk by. They don't have to walk into a space. And then if you need extra space and you have to stay within your 10 by 10 or whatever, you can run it like she did in some of the slides down the side so they can walk around the outside perimeter of your market tables.
Perfect. Thanks, Courtney.
I think she had a question.
Courtney has a question.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment.
Why don't you do the question first and then we'll do that? Yeah.
Okay, it's just a comment. So COVID redefined our marketing booth, and we put up a block from the customer to get to our tomatoes, which we still do that because our whole thing is we love to talk about our tomatoes. We want to have that conversation. We want to tell them everything about it. So it still gives me a lot of anxiety just to think that someone is going to touch them. Just saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all heirlooms for the most part, and so we would go home with crates of just destroyed tomatoes, and so yeah.
Yeah. And can you guys say again, do you guys just have a barrier where you handle it?
So it's a small table where we have our checkout, but then it's a little just lower wooden knee level, and then we put peppers and stuff there for the customers to grab, and then we're right there behind it. What kind of tomatoes you want?
Yeah. Different ways to do things based on your needs for sure. And then if you guys want to take that question from Brett, can you guys repeat it? I don't know if I heard it in the back from Brett.
The question was about logo journey, and I had nothing to do with my logo. Alex, what am I talking about? Alex had this idea of making a stamp. We asked our friend from college to make us just a stamp, and then he said, why don't we put that stamp, just get her to design a wreath around it. So that's the story on that. Also, circle logos work nice for stickers, and that's a nice thing. I do kind of regret part of my logo makes it kind of can be hard to read the actual name. I think there's a lot to be said about a logo that has a name that's typed out or bigger. So I don't know.
Yeah, I started out with asking or buying a $12 logo off Etsy, just something that was pre-made, and then I popped my stuff into it, and then I learned how to use Canva. Does anybody love Canva? Yes. If you don't, you should get on there and learn how to use Canva. It's going to make your life really easy, and it's a great skill to have. But yeah, I just usually use Canva, but I would say the same thing as Chels, having something that is pretty clear, you saw the Kentucky Flower Market one, it's one solid color, and I can change the colors and I can transfer it to shirts, to stickers, I can send it to be on the website. It's just when you do something that's simple and color blocks, it's easily transferable and it'll show up nicely on stuff. So you can get a little wild with your design sometimes.
This is just making me think too. I'm just gonna call it out, but they're among the Oaks Farm. She's pretty expert at. She's got her logo, but that logo also manifests through all of her packaging. Right there, I mean that tea just sells itself because of the packaging. So if anyone is interested in packaging and logos, you must go check that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say, if you can, I feel that it really is worth it to hire a graphic designer. It might seem expensive at first, but over the years you'll use these designs so much, and they just have a different eye for capturing the brand, making it simple, knowing that it'll print well, on the different sizes you need and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's worth it to hire a professional if you can.
Yeah, we have to wear a lot of hats, but we don't have to wear every hat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good advice. Anyone else we have time for one more question? Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. And then Chelsea, we can maybe advance the slides back to where that QR code was. If you guys want to take these slides home with you, we'll make sure that stays up. If you guys can, please complete that green survey card, leave it on your table. You can also hand it to me, and we just appreciate your time in the session. I feel like I've learned a lot, care about visuals. So if you guys can give another round of applause for these speakers. Thank you. I'll get one. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. And you guys are free to move about.